Gesundheit.
See, the problem with this is 2 6. But this one is the same. So this is the same material. So you can watch this. Yeah. So you can sweat up to however you want. You
To
can
here.
up to here.
Yeah.
Just the combination plus this makes it more hot.
I can imagine if you did this like in August.
Yeah. When we did our Buddha was September, it was so really hot.
And you have to wear this, yeah. There. In the Honza. So what is that? What is that ceremony like? Do you have to chant too?
Cannot jump, we jump fast. You don't know Japanese also.
Okay. Almost like a bullet, like a machine gun.
Yeah.
It's okay. Okay. So what is the ceremony like?
It's supposed to reflect what our Shonen got over here. So he did it at night.
So you have to do it at night.
No, they black out everything.
Oh, it's during the day, but it
everything's
looks like it's dark at nighttime.
And then when the light, I guess it was late at night and morning. So when you finish ordination, then they make the lights. So it's supposed to reflect as to what Shonen went through.
Oh, okay.
That's why with the air we have to cool back. You protect them with warm.
Yeah.
I see.
We're going to be seeing some not the same, so you might want to keep a red surgical candy.
Cool.
Oh, she's fine, really.
Everything look good?
I think so.
Okay. Should serve the service. We're going to send us to Ken Psyche, so. Still over here. Still about to do that. Okay, so we'll start by I'll ring the bell and then we'll come in from the side.
So we come outside.
Yeah.
Ohayo gozaimasu. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Hanamatsuri Family Sunday service. This is our service where we remember the birth of the historic Buddha Shakyamuni. Thank you so much for joining us today. We will begin the service with 1 minute of silent meditation. Will everyone please rise for the Vandanati Sarana on page 7, led by Reverend Toyoshima.
Page 17.
Oh, page 17.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Buddham saranam gacchami Dhammam saranam gacchami Sangham saranam gacchami. Difficult is it to receive life in human form. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the Buddha Dharma. Now we hear it. If we do not receive awakening in the present life, then in what life can we hope to receive it? Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we, together as one, begin on the great path of enlightenment, holding in our hearts supreme aspiration. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we, together as one, enter the storehouse of the Dharma and attain true wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we, together as one, uniting in harmony, strive to live for the enlightenment of all beings. The incomparable, deep, and profound Dharma is difficult to encounter even through countless ages of kalpas. Now we are privileged to hear and receive it. Let us endeavor to thoroughly understand the true meaning of the Buddha Dharma. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you. You may be seated.
Now the ministers will chant Tambutsuge. Please come up during chanting and offer incense as well as pouring sweet tea over the head of the baby Buddha. Please join me in Gasho to begin.
生有世三昧地へ理上法世国無量士願一切国一切大願平死無分百千億万無量大小修行道者無量一切人小無量無量賢小無略非の道者小無世界無他見無修善道法名師匠天師匠国道聖聖人一人万両両化サブ国道第一号出勤の道場上世国領内容二部同村他と愛に道大一切自己内省心霊症状意図大平楽安穏道流心量聖が心象おつらんの意義症症力自己生存知恵無限上領子孫知ら心行軽量心死食料阿耨尊人臨終無限
Please rise for the singing of In Lumbini's Garden. On the left side of the program, this will be followed by Bara Bara de Isho on page 116 in your service books.
Sing it together. Okay. Softly blew the breezes on that glorious morn. In Lumbini's garden, the future Buddha was born. From the earth sprang flowers, birds birds in warble sang. From above and below him, strains of music rang. People from all walks of life came to wonder him. On celebrating this birthday, thankful for this day. Okay, and next we have Bara Bara de Isho on page 116. Maru sankaku shikaku, Maru sankaku shikaku, Kao mo katachi mo chigau kedo, Dakara totemo omoshiroi, Doki na negai ni tsumarete, Bara bara de isho, Bara bara de isho, Darimo ga ima o ikite iru. Maru sankaku shikaku, Maru sankaku shikaku, Koe mo kotoba no chigau kedo, Dakara totemo tanoshii ne, Hitotsu no negai ni sasaerare, Bara bara de isho, Bara bara de isho, Daremo ga ima o ikite iru. Maru sankaku shikaku, Maru sankaku shikaku, Yume mo kokoro mo chigau kedo, Dakara totemo subarashii, Fukai negai ni ikasarete, Bara bara de isho, Bara bara de isho, Daremo ga ima o ikite iru. Namangalas, namangalas, namangalas.
Okay, will you please be seated? We will now have a Dharma message in English from Reverend Steve, followed by a Dharma message in Japanese by Rinban Kawawata.
Well,
Oh, not Kawawata. Okay, by Rinban Inoue.
last year.
Yeah, it was last year's.
Yeah, he didn't fly in. He didn't fly in. I'll just be giving the English message today. So welcome to Hanamatsuri, or as we call it in Hawaii, Buddha Day. This is when we're celebrating the birth of the historic Buddha, which we traditionally observe on April 8th, the 8th day of the 4th month. And so last week we got together for the Hawaii Buddhist Council Buddha Day service. And we had a wonderful celebration there. And now we're continuing this in our own Hondo. Thank you very much to the Betsuin, Kaneohe, and our friends who have come to join us today. Coming over the mountain, fortunately today we've been spared the rain we've been having the past, feels like the past 3 years now. But fortunately it's nice and dry, nice and safe, and not too warm today. And so we're very glad you've joined us today. And thank you so much to all the people who put together the Hanamido, the flower altar, as well as donating flowers to beautify our altar. So, why do we call it Hanamatsuri? Hanamatsuri means literally like a flower festival. And so, like we talked about in the song, at the birth of the Buddha, it's said that it was like countless numbers of flowers were in bloom, like there were petals flying all over the place, and there was a sweet rain that was falling on the baby Buddha. And so we reenact that by having beautiful flowers here and all kinds of greenery, and we pour sweet tea, or like this is a real Japanese amacha, that we pour over the head of the baby Buddha. And so, it's as Dr. Tanabe talked about last week, the story of the Buddha's birth, we don't understand that as something that literally happened. Because when the Buddha was born, he was walking and talking. He was doing stuff that outside of a cartoon, you would not see a real baby do. He, above the heavens and below the heavens, I am alone the most noble. That's what he's said to have said after taking 7 steps. Like we always talk about during our Hanamatsuri service, why is he taking these 7 steps? Well, it's because in the Buddhist tradition, it's believed that there are these 6 realms of suffering that people are born into. If you've ever heard of like the land of hungry ghosts, or the land of wild beasts, or fighting spirits, gods, humans, the idea is that based on your karma in this life, you'd be born into these different states of being. Nowadays, we understand those as being different psychological states of being, but that's for another talk. What we're talking about is the Buddha talking about walking these 7 steps and getting us beyond these 6 types of suffering and anxiety and stress. And so the reason why we have him say, I alone am the most noble, it seems like kind of an egotistical thing for a little baby to say. You haven't done anything yet. But this is, as Dr. Tanabe would say, it's an expedient means. It's a way of showing our respect for the Buddhist teachings, and that showing that even at the time of his birth, people knew that he was going to be pretty special. Of course, in addition to the plants, all the animals. It's like the Lion King, the beginning of the Lion King, where all the animals are coming together and they're paying respect to the baby Buddha. And, this is also this expedient means, this whole bend, this way of showing that all living beings, not just humans, not just the flowers and plants and the heavens themselves, are celebrating the birth of the Buddha. But so what did he do to become so celebrated? The Buddha was like a doctor. The Buddha is somebody who saw the disease that all living things are suffering from. And that suffering is suffering. The disease that we have is anxiety and fear, anger, ignorance. These are things that, they're full. Our bodies are infested with it. Not just human beings, but all creatures are full of these maladies. And so the Buddha's prescription for how to cure these ills, how to become well, he left behind these 84,000 medicines. And that no matter what your status, no matter where in the world you're from, no matter what state of being, there would be some medicine that would work for you. And so after the Buddha died, what we have left are these 84,000 teachings, of which the Jodo Shinshu, the Amida, from the 3 Pure Land Sutras, that is some of those teachings that he left behind. And so, the baby Buddha, making it possible for so many people around the world, so many beings to pursue this path to overcome the suffering in our everyday lives. Of course, we're going to put our hands together, pour some sweet tea over the little guy, and celebrate him on his birthday. Now, I think one of the things that is so important about the Buddha story is that he's a rich kid. He's born into wealth and privilege, and that, he's a son of the tribal chief, or we call him the king. Somebody that in ancient India, your pathway in life is already kind of set when you're born. If you're a Brahmin class, the priest class, you're going to be kind of like the upper echelon of society. And the warrior class, the king, like the leadership class, is what Shakyamuni, what he was born into. But as we always talk about, after the Buddha was born, a sage came down. He took a look at the boy and he said, "Hey, I see 2 possible futures for this kid. One path, he's going to become a great king, a great warrior. But I think that when he comes in contact with the suffering of the world, he is going to instead become a great teacher." Of course, if you heard that as a parent, you'd be really happy. Your child is going to grow up to be a great leader or a great teacher. But King Suddhodana, he wasn't having it. He said, "Oh, no way. I don't want my son to be a teacher, because that would be, outside of the system that he was born into. This is like if your dad was, owned a tire shop or something like that. He'd want you to take over, but you don't want to run the tire shop. You want to go and get your college degree." And so, there was this conflict. And so the baby grew up in complete luxury because his dad did not want him to come in contact with any kind of suffering. It's kind of like if you go to Vegas, all the people who work there are supposed to be really nice looking, and they have strict limits on their appearances and things like that. Same thing in the castle that Siddhartha grew up in. His father, if anybody started to get old or they got sick or they weren't perfectly beautiful, he'd fire them. He'd get them out of the castle. They made sure that Shakyamuni would only have the best, that Siddhartha would only have the best in everything. Everything would be perfect. But something about this kid was very different. And so one of the stories is of Siddhartha and the swan. So Siddhartha had a cousin, Devadatta, who would become a big problem if you've read the sutras. Big problem. If you've read the Contemplation Sutra, it would be his cousin who convinces the prince Ajatasattu to, kill his father and imprison his mother. He was like, not a good guy. He tried to take over the Buddhist Sangha. But way before that, he was just a little bratty kid. And so he and Siddhartha were in the forest one day, and Siddhartha, he's walking around, he hears thunk. And he hears the crying of this bird, really, a creature in pain. And so he looks around and he sees that his cousin has a little bow and arrow, and he shot this beautiful swan out of the sky. And so he goes over there and he sees the swan, and, he immediately, without thinking, he starts to try to, rips off one of his beautiful garments and wraps the swan, and, he finds some medicinal berries nearby, and he tries to treat the wound. And so Devadatta comes over and says, "Hey, give me that. That's my swan. I shot him. I get him." And Siddhartha says, "That might be true if you had killed the swan, but I am trying to save its life right now." And so the boys were quarreling over who gets the swan. they talk to the king and his ministers, and they say, well, it depends on, kind of a difficult situation. But what happened is a mysterious man appeared, and he looked at the situation, and he told the boys and he told the ministers and the king, well, if this swan could talk, said the old man, it would tell us that it wanted to be well again and to be free to fly and to swim with the other wild swans. None of us want to feel pain or die, and it is the same for the swan. It wants to live, so it should go to whoever wants to give it life. Let it be so, said the king. Siddhartha shall keep the swan. Thank you, old man, for your wise advice. But the old man had already disappeared, as quietly as he had come. All this time, Devadatta had stood silent. He remembered how kind his mother had been when he had once fallen and cut his leg badly. She had bandaged the cut and looked after him. He had never before stopped to think that animals had feelings, that they too felt pain and appreciated kindness. And so the two boys cared for the swan until it was well again. And one evening, when its wing was completely healed, they let it down to the palace lake. Just then, the familiar sound of beating wings could be heard overhead. Look, said Devadatta, the others have come back for her. Soon, the swan rose into the air to join her friends. She circled the lake one last time, as if to say goodbye before flying off towards the mountains in the north. So I think this shows that even at a young age, Siddhartha, who had become the Buddha, was a very compassionate kid. And that even Devadatta, for as wicked as he would become, was able to realize, hey, wait a minute, these animals are not just dumb beasts. They've got feelings too. And I think that's why it's important that in the legend of the Buddha's birth, there are animals there too paying their respect to the Buddha. There's not a distinction that the Buddha makes between like a human beings and all living things. We're all connected. And so when you look at the images of the Pure Land, you also see the animals there as well. I think the animals have it the right way. If you have a dog or a cat, you get to see them every day. When an animal is hungry, it will eat. When an animal is tired, it will sleep. When an animal wants to get in your way when you're trying to walk down the hallway, it'll do that. Because animals don't have that same calculating ego mind, I think, that humans do. We're the ones that make it tough. People ask, why didn't Shakyamuni go around and preach to the animals? Why didn't he write a sutra just for the animals to read? Well, there'd be some problems with that. But I think it is that human beings are the ones that need the most help. We've got the egos that tell us, I am the master of the world. I am going to deceive the people around me. I'm going to tell lies. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to steal. Animals, for the most part, don't get involved with that stuff. They live life naturally. And that the idea would be is that they don't have to listen to the Dharma. They're living it. There's already this interconnection. There's already this impermanence that they live totally in the moment. And that human beings are the ones that we trip over our own feet trying to overcomplicate things. We've got this, ironically, we call it the monkey mind. We're always calculating. Whenever we do something nice for somebody, we're not doing that out of the goodness of our heart a lot of the times. We're kind of thinking in the back of our head, gosh, that makes me a good person. When somebody doesn't thank us, when we do something for them, we think, I'm never going to do that for them again. They're ungrateful. We're not capable of just living in the moment. We're not capable of just living with gratitude just for being here. And so that's something that I think that the swan, that the animals could teach us about is, wanting to live and not wanting to, harm other people. But I think the other thing this story teaches us is that the world belongs to the ones who are trying to fix things. We inherited a world that we do not control. We've got pollution, war, prejudice. We've got all kinds of bad stuff. All of that stemming from human ego, from human ignorance. And so the people who are trying to break things apart, trying to kill that swan, may say, this world belongs to me. But I think that it has to be up to the people who are trying to heal the swan, people who are trying to fix the problems we got, that you got to get together and realize that this world we're living in, it's very fragile and it's all connected to one another. You can see that what's happening on the other side of the world impacts us, not just our gas prices, not just the cost of eggs and our groceries, but we're living in a globally connected world. What happens to the animals? What happens to the air? Everything affects us, even if we don't notice it right away. And so I think what the Buddha was trying to do, the reason why his life is so important, is that he is the one telling us that everything is connected. We just don't see it. And that if we can have some appreciation for the living beings around us, whether they be the dogs and cats in our life, whether they be the trees that give us oxygen, whether it be our neighbors and friends, people that we've never even met even. They're all part of this precious Sangha, the people who are the target of Shakyamuni's teachings, the people that he left behind these 84,000 teachings for, that is us. And so out of a deep thanks for all the things that the Buddha tried to teach us from 2,500 years ago, we pay our respects to him on his birthday. We put our hands together in Gasho and show our appreciation. Because the problems that the Buddha talked about, we always say the Buddha was not talking about problems just for ancient India. The Buddha dealt with war and sickness and death. And these are things that we very much still have. But like a physician, he's prescribing us the medicines to take. He's giving us the pills and saying, hey, take these and you can be well and you can help other people to get well too. And so out of thanks to this great doctor, we say, thank you very much, Shakyamuni, the sage of the Shaka clan, and to all those wonderful lessons. So thank you so much for listening, everybody. Thank you for coming out. And you all have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, Sensei, for your inspiring Dharma talk. And, okay, so now we will have a Dharma message in Japanese by Bimban Inoue.
Okay.
おはようございます。日本語の短いのを、川田先生の代わりに、やらせていただきます。短いので、どうしてアマチュアをかけるかっていうのだけ疑問に思われている方あると思いますので、花祭りの時に、日本でもずっと私も小さい時から、このベイビーブッダ誕生物に4月8日の花祭りにはアマチュアをかけてお参りするというずっとやってきましたけれども、あんまりその理由をどうしてアマチュアなんですかっていうのがはっきりしなくて気になっていたんですけれど、お経の中にですね、ブッダシッダールタお釈迦様が生まれた時に、神々が喜んで甘露の雨を降らせた。甘露っていうのは甘いつゆと書きますけど、でそれが漢字に中国語に直された時は甘露甘いつゆだったんですけど、その元は サンスクリットやパーリ語ですとアマタなんですね。アマタ。で、サンスクリットの意味はアムリタっていうんです。アムリタっていうのが神々が飲むようなそのギリシャ神話だとアンブローシアとかですね、その不死の死ぬことがない。それを飲めば、それを体に入れると永遠の命を得られるという、そういう飲み物で、そのインドの言葉では無理っていうのは死ぬっていう意味です。で、アムリタというと、その飲み物の方、神々の飲み物のアムリタと、それから不死という意味、両方があります。で、お釈迦様は言葉遊びが、シャレですね。同じ発音で別の意味がある言葉っていうのを、説法の中でよく使われています。で、インドの人たちも、その言葉で同じ音で別の意味があるアマタっていうのを、アムリタ、アマタっていうのを、不死、死なないっていう意味と、それからその神々が飲む、甘露の意味と両方で使っていて、ですから、ここでは実際甘いその液体ですけれども、意味としては、そこに兼ねられているのは死ぬことがない、永遠のという意味で、神々が甘露の雨、アマタの雨を降らせたっていうのは、永遠の命が、その教えとしてですね、このブッダの誕生、ブッダとなる人の誕生によって、私たちに永遠の命の門が開かれたということを祝って、甘露の雨を降らせたと、アマタの雨を降らせたっていう、そういうことです。で、パーリ語の多分アマタっていうのが聞いたときに、日本人でですね、アマチャっていうのと、重なって、おそらくどっかの時代でパーリ語のわかる日本のお坊さんが、アマタっていうのはアマチャではないかというふうに考えて、いつの時代からかその日本でアマチャを誕生物にかけるようになったと。そうするとそのサンスクリット語、パーリ語の中での言葉の二つの意味と、それが日本語の発音の方に、パーリ語の発音が日本語でいうアマチャっていうのに、アマタとアマチャっていうのはかなり近いですから、多分どっかでそれに気がついたお坊さんがいて、日本でこの誕生物を祝うときにアマチャを用いるようになったんではないかというふうに、これは一般的に受け入れられている説ではありませんけれども、最後の部分、アマチャとアマタがアマチャになったっていうのは、私が多分そうではないかと推測しているところですけど、一番大事なところは、不死っていうことと、その甘露の飲み物の方ですね。甘露の雨を降らせたというところで、そこを辿っていくとですね、やがてお釈迦様が阿弥陀仏の阿弥陀の教えを説かれたっていう、阿弥陀っていうのは阿弥陀ですけれども、永遠の命という、無量寿という意味がありますから、無量寿の教えっていうのは多分そのアムリタのことを、ブッダとなったお釈迦様が説いてくださった。誕生した段階で、この私たちに不死の訪問、教えを説いてくださる方だということで、神々が喜ばれたという、そういうことであります。ですから、浄土真宗ともおそらく、ブッダの誕生をアムリタで祝うっていうのは深い関係があるのではないかと思います。そういう思いで、アマチャをかけていただけるといいんではないかというふうに思います。以上で日本語の方は終わります。Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Limban Inoue, for your explanation about the amacha. Okay. So now we have many events and services during the rest of the month. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so today we have the continuation of Tempo Future Feedback Discussion Group at 11:30 on April 14th, Tuesday, 3 p.m., ukulele band practice in person and Zoom And April 16th on Thursday, 5:30 p.m. Hawaii District Lecture Series Part 3 on Zoom. And then on April 19th, Sunday at 10 a.m., a Shotsuki Memorial Service in person and YouTube. The Dharma message will be from Dimban Takami Inoue. And then again on April 19th, Sunday, 11:30 a.m., the Photography Club will meet in the conference room. On April 21st, Tuesday, 11:30, there's the lunch bunch at Midtown Eats Food Hall. Meet at the temple for carpooling to get to that restaurant. Let's see, April 23rd, Thursday, 5:30 p.m., Hawaii District Lecture Series. It's the part 4 on Zoom. April 25th, Saturday, 10 a.m., Shoshinge for Beginners Study Class in English will be held in the conference room and also, in person and on Zoom, facilitated by Rimban Inoue. April 28th, Tuesday, 10 a.m., Shinran Shonin Memorial Service in person and on YouTube. April 28th, Tuesday at 3 p.m., ukulele band practice in person and on Zoom. And then on April 28th, Tuesday, 5:30 p.m., the dinner and movie night in the conference room. And the movie will be Perfect Days.
Sure. Just want to mention about the lunch bunch real quick. So before the pandemic, we used to get together every month to go to the Moanalua 99 food court. That's a Home Depot now, so we can't go there anymore to eat. But they just opened up this place called Midtown Eats on Kapahulu, kind of across from the Shingon Mission and the McDonald's. And so what we're going to do is carpool there from 11:30, and then we'll go have lunch together, talk story. One of the feedbacks that we got from our Temple Future discussion was that people are looking to have more opportunities to talk outside of the service. We have limited time, and so to get together and catch up would be good. And there are some members that aren't able to come to Sunday services who are interested too. So please join us for that, and we'll enjoy some nice lunch together. They've got a ton of different food options there, all kinds of different cuisines, very reasonably priced. So please come on out.
Okay. Then at the end here, please rise if you're able to for the singing of Ondok-san. Are we doing the English?
Yeah, we're going to do both.
Okay, so we will sing the English version on page 53 and then the Japanese version on page 100. Page 4?
Sorry, page 54, and the Japanese version is 113.
Oh, okay.
54 and 113. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Embraced by Amida's great compassion, I respond with gratitude, dedicating my life. Embraced by my dear teachers and good Dharma friends, I must answer gratefully throughout my life. 如来大悲の page 113毒は身を粉にしてもおずべし知種知識の音読も骨を砕きてもしゃすべし。ナモアミラ仏、ナモアミラ仏、ナモアミラ仏。
Okay, you may be seated. Thank you so much for coming today. And thank you, everyone who's watching from home. Have a great day.
Thank you very much.